What's up, YouTube family? I'm back at you like I'm mad at you with another one. And I wanna just this video real quick, man, ain't gonna be like a normal video. This more so gonna be like a question. Anybody catch this video and you found it to be something that interests you, I'm asking that you respond in the checks, respond in the comments, because I thought about this, right? What if a man or a woman was literally able, like from the day that they was able to start walking and talking, the young child, they was able to start like learning from their mistakes right away, like right off bat, learning from every situation the first time. And not even some situations happen to actually learn from it. Some of them they actually earned without the L, earned from this situation, meaning they was able to see other people situations and say, okay, no, I ain't gonna do that. That stove hot, right? No, I ain't gonna smoke things. I see what that do. Oh, I ain't gonna do this. Imagine at a very young age, as soon as they start able to learn to walk and talk and do certain things on their own, to become their own person, right? And able to think for themselves. So like Jesus, they say, started early, studying. He came out different than all the other spiritual leaders and all that, because he did something real early, right? Imagine somebody was literally able, the first time they had situations occur in life, they learned from it. You know what I mean? The first time, I'm talking about down to the smallest things, to the biggest things. The question is, not only what if somebody can do this, like really from day one, they never did nothing, they hadn't made the same error twice in life. Like many of us, what I'm asking is, would they be a totally different creature? Would they be a totally different creature by the time they reach adulthood? Many of us battle with things and struggle with things before we totally let it go. Think about that. That's what I'm saying. Many of us went through some phases before we totally let some things go. We went back and forth and wrestled with some things. But imagine a creature who the first time, growing up from a very young child, was able to learn from everything the first time all the way until they reach adulthood. Would that be a totally different creature? I mean, from the littlest things, when it comes to your integrity, your word, because standing by your word, imagine adding to that. When we talking about learning from everything the first time, and I mean also being a man or woman of your word the first time and every time, from a childlike to an adult, would that be a totally different creature by the time they reach adulthood? Because you got to think, when you are a man or woman of your word every time, I'm saying period, you know what that does for your confidence? The more we betray our word, the more space we put in between us and our true power. So imagine somebody who really stood behind their word every time. You talk about ultimate power and the next level of power, it could be just something as simple as literally standing by your word every single time. From the day that you begin to understand what that is up into adulthood. Imagine, again, some of the things that many of us, that's normal for many of us to struggle with, right? Or to be challenged with over time before we actually overcome it. Imagine a person, a man or a woman, who can literally learn from every situation or earn the first time. And I mean never to look back. I'm saying not to look back, not once more. You see what I'm saying? Like, many of us saw things, experienced things secondhand, and we still went into it. We still, we still had to see it for ourselves and burn our own hand on the fire, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? In some situations, we still had to, we struggle with saying things that we probably intended to mean and intended to stand by, but in some ways, maybe we 80% are standing behind our words. standing behind our word, maybe 70%. But we not quite, we maybe some of us do good and do some better than others, but not quite 100%. Imagine if a man or a woman can stand behind their word literally from a certain age child, I want to say about 13, maybe 12, 13, 14, all the way until like mature adulthood. Like they never look back on no mistake, on no, they never, like the first time they saw, nope, they didn't do it. And they didn't go out and figure it out for themselves and burn their own self to see for themselves. Like they stood by their word. Every time they said they was going to do something, they did exactly that. Imagine that confidence. Imagine how close that person or that man or woman could be to the Most High in a sense of power when that word go forth. You see what I'm saying? Like the level of confidence has to do with your level of power in what you, when I believe is to be like our higher selves, man. Would that man or woman still be the same creature, or would that man or woman be a totally different creature? You see what I'm saying? Imagine that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if somebody was able to, because that space in between, the more we dishonor our word, the more we dishonor what we know best, as far as learning from situations, not only our own mistakes, but things that we see in others around us and other people's worlds around us and so forth. That the more we dishonor our word and our integrity in these situations, the more space that we create in between our confidence, but more importantly, in between us and our higher selves, in between us and our true capable power. So it's just a quick question. I ain't gonna make this video long. I'm just thinking, this was just something I always thought for years. And I'm out here on the trail right now in the nature. And I just thought off and on sporadically for years. I said, man, imagine somebody from day one. Like, it's like you talking to your younger self right now. You talking to your younger self right now. You'll probably try to have your younger self on point where you don't have to go through at least 99% of the things that you've been through, because you'll be trying to get your younger self to get it the first time. You see what I'm saying? Would that be a totally different creature? I'm telling you, like Jesus, it was said to some extent, he started very early learning things and studying and getting and figuring things out real early. By the time he was 33, he was one with God, right? I'm just asking, man, if you find this interesting, type it in the comments, like the video. Like, it's a good question. Like, what if, because it's something to be considered amongst the mankind, and especially those of us who feel to rise above the mediocrity of mankind. Imagine a man or woman. Imagine if you can raise your child, like if you was in a position to teach your child, like from a very young age. And don't think so small as to think like, well, no, everybody make mistakes. I'm not talking about not allowing a kid to be a kid. I'm saying when they become of a certain age, imagine they were able from like a very young age. Like, ain't no second runs with nothing. You know what I'm saying? Everything that they do encounter on their own, they get it the first time. And all the other things, they get it from other people's situations, because sometimes wisdom, like I say, learning without the L, earning, is getting and learning, is obtaining guidance through looking at other people's situations and other people's experiences. Because I'm gonna make another video on it, but the book I'm working on now is called Experiences Are Experiments, and I believe that every experience is an experiment. But we just call it life. Some of us just say that's life. That's how life is. But what if we are supposed to be like scientists, right? Like scientists, where we're able to really supposed to be experiment. Thus, they are experimental, right? Imagine if somebody can just, the first time, all the way from when they first started, from when they first became of age of accountability to like 12, 13, however old that is, they can kind of figure out, do stuff, they kind of on their own. They able to make conscious decisions to the extent. But even if they did make some error choices, they were able to get it that first time and no more to deal with that again. Not saying they weren't tempted with it again. Not saying they wasn't tempted with it again. Even Jesus was tempted, right? On the mountain of Sinai where he was mature. I'm not saying that a man or woman who never been tempted again, but I'm saying imagine being a man or woman of your word from day one of your age of accountability. A man or woman of your word. That means every time you say something. Because see, you got to understand too, when we betray our own word and integrity, that's also what creates doubt in us about certain things. Because we know that we've said we were going to do things. And we know we've said we was going to commit to things that we hadn't quite did so before. But when you at a place where you know, like when you say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and you do it every time. And you say, I'm about this, I'm about that, and you're about that every time. That creates confidence on another level. It creates confidence in the midst of performance. Think about that. It creates confidence in the midst of performance. This is how some great fighters are able to go in a ring with a challenging opponent and take them out and knock them out, because they have been they built up their confidence in so much of their experiences that even when their opponent look, your opponent might be a giant. They like David. They still knew, like, I can take him out too. You see what I'm saying? And I'm saying this one is power. And don't think about this on just merely a physical plane. You got to understand, I'm saying something that'll happen in the midst of performance. It's like being on a court, basketball court, and you wonder, like, how is this guy making these shots? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just supernatural performance comes about when your confidence is there at a certain height in zenith. You see what I'm saying? So just imagine that if you can raise your son or daughter to be a man or a woman of their word from day one. And this is something they would have to understand. They would have to learn to understand it and comprehend it as they go. Like, in this world, we come to this world and we think to ourselves, we want to just figure stuff out on our own. We hear a lot of things. We know our mothers and fathers tell us, and our guardians growing up, we feel like we know they just want the best for us, and they just telling me to stay out the street, or they just telling me to do it because they just want to see me do good, or they don't want me to get and they be right. But we still go out. We want to know for ourselves. We still go out, and we still go out and do things that they try to talk us out of, because for some reason, we wanted to see for ourselves. There's a certain knack within us that wants to taste life in a certain kind of way for ourselves. And therefore, we all find ourselves in the same kind of, I don't want to say conjunction, but in the same pot. I'll just say that for now. Right? Some of us find ourselves at least climbing out of that same pot, or having to have had climbed out of that pot, that same pot before. Right? Even if you're not in the same pot no more, you had to get out of that at one point or another, because at one point or another you went where you was told not to go anyway. Imagine a man or a woman who just say, you know what? They come to this place and they just take wisdom at his word and everything. I'm saying by the time they 33 or a full mature adult, right? I wonder, would that be a totally different creature? Would that be somebody who able to touch you and dang near heal you or something? You know what I'm saying? Would that be somebody who able to change you just by touching you or something? Or You know, they word have so much power. Speaking out into the heavens, how much power would they word have? Somebody that's close. That's close, who's like this close to, I mean, their integrity is like, you know, their integrity matched with their higher self. It's like, man, two pieces of bread sticking together or something. Like, I'm just imagining, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of how to say it, but imagine what kind of creature would that be. These are the kind of thoughts that I've had over the years, just sometimes in my meditative space. And I thought that to be very powerful, very significant too, though. One thought to be very significant that I thought to share, because I said, you know what? Imagine, man, we mostly see, like right now, many people may watch this video and they might think, well, kids can't do that. The first thing some people gonna think is can't. Kids can't. They're just kids. They can't. What kid can do that? But I think it's possible. There's certain things going on in other countries with kids that on different levels as far as their aptitude, what they teaching them at a very young age. And I'm talking about from martial arts to book smarts to spiritual knowledge. They're teaching at a very young age in different age and across the country in different places like Asia and different places. They got different stuff going on in their schools. You'd be surprised what a young man or a young woman can know and accomplish at a very young age. But when we in a world that's convinced us all that no, kids have to be kids and they have to do what other kids do, and we all pass down that same false knowledge that produces a bunch of young people that grow up going through same things some of us much older have been through, because we passing it down and we're assuring them that you can't do no different, you can't do no better, you have to be a kid like we was. But although they do have to be younger or they have to go through these age stages and phases like we do, does not mean that they have to have the same exact experience, aka experiment. When scientists, now we are scientists, when scientists say, when they go do experiments on a thing, it's to come out with a different result, a different diagnosis. They don't experiment just to say and agree with you. Sometimes they're looking for something different, because the first scientist might pull out, just say the first scientist go into something and he might pull out, just say A type result. You're able to look at his work and see, okay, yeah, that produces an A type result. You don't have to go experiment, right, to confirm that same result, because you already confirmed it through what the other scientists did. Not taking their word at it, but I'm saying you're able to look at their work and confirm it, right? Put your eye in the lens and go check it out for yourself. So now when you do your experiment, you're not looking for the same A-type result. In fact, you're looking for something different. You may be trying to accomplish something more. And so that's what I mean about young folk. When you think about young people, your children, your sons and your daughters, what if you gave them a different kind of hope? What if you gave them a different kind of understanding of life and said, you know what? You can do something on a whole nother level. You got to understand, a lot of us are only doing what we being taught at a very young age, what we're being told at a very young age. If you came to this world, because environment and condition is a big deal on everything that we turn out like, in a sense. If you came to this world and everybody, just say for example, everybody was flat out gang banging and, you know, we lived in a world with swords and shields and horses. Think about it, man. You think it to yourself because of what you came to with cars and a different climate. You thinking, no, I wouldn't. Yes, you would. If we was all in that space, we would all be riding horses and learning how to use sword, learning how to sword fight and shield with shields on, man. We would adapt, bro, to whatever we was taught. whatever we came into, whatever we was born into. You see what I'm saying? You ever hear somebody say, I was born in it, not sworn in it?
Shut up. Shut up.
You see what I'm saying? Let me move around, somebody over there arguing. But you hear what I'm saying, though? What I'm trying to tell y'all is if young men and women came to this world and they were told, like, you are powerful, you are, just say you are God's body, and you told them, like, you can't go do it, you got to do this, like, and just say they saw that around them, they saw other kids, learning great things at a real early age, learning different levels of discipline and wisdom at a very early age, they would adapt to that. And you would have a world that adapts to a different aptitude at a very young age. So just adding to my question, when you think about that, you really want to see a new creature? You really want to see this world change? You got to start with the youth at a very young age. The Bible said, put it in them while they're young. So some people are not just merely lying, but they're passing down deception and lies that was passed down to them. And that carries on the same result. A lot of things that's going on in this world, you got a lot of people that they are convinced that it can't be no different. They are convinced that this is how it has to be. They had to adapt, and you have to adapt. They convinced that. Because why? A big part of convincing people is making sure they don't see nothing different. You see what I'm saying? So that's how you create and control. That's how you control a nation of people. By controlling their environment in a way where they only see what you teaching them. They only see what you want them to see. It's easier for them to believe in your program that way. Imagine, and I'm in this video, a man or a woman at a very young age, that age of accountability, whatever that is, were able to stand behind their word 100%. And before you conclude in your mind that nobody can stand behind their word 100%, because nobody's perfect. I know, I understand. I heard that a million times too. But before you choose to say that that's it, that's all, imagine a young man or a woman who are able to stand behind their word 100% and learn the first time. What I'm saying is, imagine you were able to go from one thing, like you saw, go, no more, no more. What would you be in life right now? What would you be in life right now if everything that you had encountered, you learned or earned from it the first time? You was like, no more, no more. What would you be right now? What kind of creature would you be right now? What would your confidence be right now? Because we both know that we had to go through some things. We struggled, we battled with some things before we finally overcame them. We wrestled with some things. But what if somebody was willed to be able to not look back not one time to everything that didn't serve their best interest, to everything that didn't evolve them for the better of them, everything that didn't enhance them, their growth and development, everything that didn't improve them? What if they was able to just walk away or turn away from it the first time? And not only that, stand by it, stand by their word every time. I think there'd be 100%. There'd be a different creature, even if it was 99%. Even if 1% they slip, they was 99%, 95, they'd be a totally different creature if they was 95%. Because most of us is convinced that going through and wrestling with things is normal. What if that ain't normal? What if that ain't normal when we think about our potential, the potential of our power, reaching our higher selves, becoming one with our higher selves? the potential of what we could become or what we could have became. Because most of us most of us have been almost like bitten to an extent, right? Just think about that. I don't know. If you get what I'm saying, text in the comments, man. I appreciate your response. Just to know somebody out there maybe understand what I'm talking about. To the next video, peace, positivity, power, and abundance. Water.